Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate you. Well, we are going to get started. Let me make sure I have all my tools ready. So I want to welcome you guys to Ignite session number 16. Okay, let me make sure Ignite section number 16. Of course, we want to make sure that we abide by the rules and regulations. By the rules and regulations of TCPA. Of course. Make sure I get it here. So, you all know who I am. I'm Brett Howard, right? Do I have to introduce myself again? Listen, so today what we're going to do is we're going to move on in our Transact series. We've covered winning the seller and the buyer. Now we're going to move on to talk about how you work with your clients once you have signed the listing or the buyer agreement, and when you make or receive an offer. And before we begin, how has your progress been with your daily success systems? Have you been making the contacts that you need to make?
I haven't been doing the 10, but I've been trying, I've been
Mhm.
at it, yeah, so the goal is to get those.
Okay. So now I want you to celebrate your successes, the things that you do, but also understand that real estate is a contact sport. That if you're not making contacts, your business is not going to grow as it should. Okay, so at the end of this session, you're going to be able to identify the key information to build success with buyers and sellers, and to employ different strategies to assist buyers and sellers with their decision making, and to build a strong success foundation relationship with your clients and co-op agents. So always remember, it's always important not just to enjoy or get the approval of your clients. You want to make sure your co-op agent is in a good relationship with you. Okay. Now, as we go through the content today, I want you to look at this right here. Virtually every top producing agent we have ever worked with has a deep and almost inherent sense of service. They have a servant's heart and place their buyers or sellers' real estate experience above all, okay? Above all else. They are always thinking service. And so you got to understand that every top producing agent is always thinking service and not money. Okay, that is important. So the point of in the transaction that we're going to focus on today is the time between a signed buyer agreement or a listing agreement and receiving and making an offer. However, just as you are going to take aspects of lead generation into the transaction, you'll of course take aspects that we discussed today all the way through closing, because it's more than just working with a seller or more than just working with a buyer. It's what happens after the contract is signed. The key to success with clients is, guess what? Guess what the key to success with clients are?
Yeah, like it.
Without me saying it. Communication. Okay, we've covered this. You guys have covered this in Ignite in many ways, including the assistance that Command and KW, that the KW app provides in making sure you are communicating with value to your SOI leads and clients. Okay, remember, when it says communication, it does not mean that you have to do it all by yourself. That's why you have a business in a box here at KW. You have smart plans. Those smart plans will take you through a touch system with your buyers and sellers so that you can always communicate with them. It is important. It's important that you have to understand that great communication is the foundation for great relationships with your clients. Remember, they're trusting you with what is likely their biggest financial decision and what will serve as the foundation for their lives, okay? As a foundation for their lives and their biggest financial decision and the lives of their family. So you need to make sure that your communication in these instances provides a strong foundation for a sustaining relationship, okay? Because you don't want just a one-off. You don't want just to work with a buyer, close a buyer, and then they're gone. You don't want to just work with the seller, close the seller, and then they're gone. You want to make sure you provide a strong foundation for a sustaining relationship and sets and manages expectations proactively throughout the transaction and create a peace of mind for your clients, which enhances your credibility, okay? It's important to recognize that you can rarely over-communicate with clients. This is a complicated process that they will only navigate a few times in their lives, and you will continually set expectations and keep everyone on track with your communication. And as we've mentioned, Command and KW, your KW app, are here to help you automate the process. Now, in addition to the 4 underlying ideas that all of you need is communication with clients to convey, we got to remind ourselves of the 3 levels of service that the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book gives us. Remember, by keeping these levels in mind, you'll serve your clients to the highest possible level. And they are purpose, value proposition, and fiduciary. So what does purpose mean? Purpose, masters of service have a clear understanding of why they should be hired and can articulate it to anyone at any time. Great service begins with a clear purpose to why someone should work with you, okay? So when I meet with my sellers, I say I'm going to meet with you or communicate with you every Tuesday. When I meet with my buyers, I'm going to communicate with you every Thursday, okay? And there's a reasoning behind that. The sellers, I'm communicating every Tuesday because usually the sellers have an open house and people are seeing their property during the weekend. Monday gives me a time to put all that together and then talk with them on Tuesday about the temperature of the market. On Thursdays, I'm talking with the buyers because the buyers are getting ready on the weekend to go view properties, okay? So you want to set those expectations. And then you have a value proposition. The best agents can translate their purpose and why people should hire them into a specific set of services that they will provide. So that means that you're not just a real estate agent. You know, my tagline, whether you're buying or selling, the first one moving should be your realtor. What does that mean? It means that I'm going to put myself in a place that can be stress less for my clients, okay? And then fiduciary. Highly productive agents provide a level of service based on their commitment to act as a fiduciary for their clients. They place their clients' interests above all others, even their own. A fiduciary brings a level of care and trust to the relationship that a functional agent does not. Okay? Fiduciary agent is always caring about the client. So if we dig deeper into fiduciary, you have the functionary versus a fiduciary. If we dig deeper into that last concept that we were talking about, fiduciary, we discussed this in a way back in in day two. I think it was day two of the real estate expert. When you operate as a fiduciary, your clients, you earn the right to be their expert of choice. Okay, you earn the right to be their expert of choice. Who remembers the difference between fiduciary and functionary? Anybody?
I mean, functionary
Uh-huh.
would be like a job, like what your ABC type of thing. And fiduciary, the way I've always thought it is treat you as if it was my own wallet, like if it was my own home selling.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. So, as you said, a functionary has a specific task relationship with the clients. They do the job by dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. A fiduciary is a high trust relationship with the clients and always puts their best interest at the forefront, even before the agent's own. Okay? Give you an example of this. When I started in the business, I think this has been about, I would say a good 15 years ago, 15, 16 years ago, I sent out a flyer, okay, from Corpac. It had my picture on it. I had a client call me. Hey, are you this handsome young man on the flyer? I said, indeed I am. You know, older lady, developed a relationship. I sold 2 of her properties in LA, one in Inglewood. She has one currently in Inglewood that she's renting out, but I also helped her purchase a property when she moved from LA to Houston, okay? She moved to Texas, and when she moved to Texas, I referred her out there to do that. Now, I serve as an unofficial property manager, so if she needs something, guess what? She calls me. Just recently, we've been dealing with a roof issue, so I got the estimates for her and did that, okay? And then her tenant in the back had an issue, and so we had that conversation. She always, that's one client that always sends me a Christmas gift. She knows me and my wife. You understand? That is a fiduciary, okay? Even today, just today, she said, I need to talk to you because a couple of my properties are in the trust, but I don't have all of them in there, so we need to sit down and talk, okay? I don't know whether or not she loves me enough that she's gonna put me in her trust, but that would be good. But that's when you look at functionary versus fiduciary. And so when we go over that, we say dual agency. You all know what dual agency, right, is? Okay?
Yes.
If,
I actually have questions about that.
okay, okay.
But I'll wait, maybe you go.
You can, so this is a great place when you look at this to bring up the concept of dual agency, working for both the buyer and the seller on a transaction. And though this is legal in California, it is illegal in some other states, okay? It's not advisable, especially as a new agent sometimes. Many infractions that endanger an agent's license stem from this practice. And the reason why it stems from this practice, this is my personal observation. The reason why it endangers is because the agents are looking more at the money than the service. Okay? So when you look at more the money than the service, then you're in a gray area. Well, no, you're not in a gray area, you're in a red area. Okay? Being a fiduciary relationship with your client means making all decisions based on their interest alone. This is challenging when you are working for 2 parties with competing interests, because your job as a selling agent, okay, is get the buyer the lowest possible price. The job for a listing agent is get the seller the highest possible price. Will your buyer expect that you're telling them everything about the house, even items that may not be required to be disclosed? Okay? Things that that don't require to be disclosed or things that haven't been disclosed to you. If the seller hasn't disclosed to you, okay, you are bound by whatever the seller discloses to you. Will the seller expect that the offer you're making on behalf of your buyers is the best offer since you have knowledge of their pre-approval amount and finances? This is the interesting thing, because when an agent represents both the buyer and the seller, you have to remember your fiduciary commitment to your client, okay? So basically, I'm going to tell my client, this is what I think your home is worth, okay? The buyer, I know what they're qualified for. The buyer's going to ask me. Buyer's going to ask you, well, how much should I offer? You should offer whatever you think is your highest and best possible price if you want to keep this deal. And when they say, well, do you think this is good? That is totally up to you. Okay? Then they offer what they offer. The seller has the ability to accept or reject. We always suggest that sellers always counter an offer. Okay? So I would, again, my fiduciary duty is to the buyer. What did I do with the buyer? I said, you have to give us what you're willing to pay. What are you willing to lose this house over? Okay? Now, I already know what the seller, because the seller will say, we're gonna list it at 550, but you know, I really take 500.
But you can't tell.
But I can't tell the buyer that, you know, even if I do work with the buyer. I can't even insinuate it. Okay? So that's why you have to be careful. Now, what question did you have in regards to that?
Would it also be dual agency, let's say both of us in the same office, you have the buyer, I have the seller, or vice versa? Is that technically dual agency?
Technically, it's dual agency.
Okay,
Technically.
but it's not the same thing,
It's not the
obviously,
same
because
thing.
I don't represent your.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's not the same thing. We're talking about
Same
me representing you
Both.
as a seller and representing him as the buyer. I'm the in between. And the reason why I say it gets dangerous is because I'm in between. That means I know I'm getting paid over here and I know I'm getting paid over here.
And what do you hide and what, I shouldn't say hide, but what do you not
Right. Disclose.
Yeah.
So in addition, you owe confidentiality to both parties. How can you be sure that you're not giving away confidential information, even accidentally? And here are some things that can go wrong with dual agency. Are you really prepared to negotiate against yourself? Because that's what you're doing. Okay? When negotiation inspection items, how will you make the seller's case to the buyer that the HVAC system is in working order and therefore should not be repaired, while telling the seller that the system is close to the end of its useful life? You understand? And therefore should be replaced or covered by the seller or paid by home warranty. Both are legitimate representations of the same issue. They just come from different perspectives. Okay? Would you ever go to court against someone who shared your term? You understand? Would you feel like you were getting the best representation possible while your lawyers spend half their time working with the other opposing side? And if not, refusing to do dual agency may be the best course of action for you. You have the choice on whether or not you can make this happen. Okay? Many agents will work both sides of a transaction. I am one of them. However, it's something to think about carefully, especially as a new agent. Okay? Whenever there's a crossroad with a buyer or a seller, and I can't negotiate and they can't negotiate, I'll have a meeting of the minds with the buyer and the seller. Okay? And I will let them talk it out. Okay? If you make it a practice not to work with both sides of a deal, you can add that to your value proposition. You can say, you know, I will never compete against you. Okay, you can put that as your value proposition.
Can
and
you refer?
Say that again?
let's say I'm doing an open house. Buyer walks in, I'm really interested and checks off theoretically everything. Would I be able to refer, I mean, I'm assuming, right, I would be able to refer him to
Absolutely.
you or whoever.
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely. You
so
know,
that way.
yeah, you never want to leave money on the table, but you have to determine whether or not you are able
To do that.
to work both sides.
Most dispute which come when the dual agencies work,
Huh?
most dispute between the seller and buyer.
I wouldn't say most disputes. I wouldn't say most disputes. I would say you have to be careful. You do, okay, with dual agency, you can be a fiduciary and a functionary at the same time. Okay? So with dual agency, now get this, a functionary and a fiduciary. In dual agency, you have to be both because you have to dot every I and cross every T's. You have to keep your conversations up on what you said here, what your seller said to you, all of that in order to be safe. You follow me?
I just feel it's risky.
Say it
I
again.
mean, I know you've done it, it's just,
Uh-huh.
but I feel like the risk increases.
It just depends on how you handle your fiduciary duty to your buyer and your fiduciary duty to your seller. Yeah. So now we talked about 3 levels of service, 3 levels of service. And revisiting being a fiduciary relationship with your clients. You could see that though, you could see those as the what of being a great agent. Now, let's talk a bit more about the how of being a great agent. How you reach the 3 levels of service for your clients is largely about communication and education. As a real estate agent, you are immersed in buying and selling houses every single day. This class is interesting because those are your clients, buyers and sellers. You only have 2 clients, buyers and sellers, okay? It's your job, and for a lot of us, it's our passion as well. For our clients, this is something that they may never have done. Even if they are a repeat buyer or seller, they're unlikely to do this more than 8 years or so, according to NAR statistics. Okay? The stakes are huge. For most of us in the US, our homes are our single biggest asset. Therefore, you are going to demonstrate your expertise by educating your client on the realities of the market, as well as their personal real estate process. And you're going to do it often. And to do this, first, you need to set expectations for the process and for communication. When you set expectations, it makes it much easier for you. Set expectations is just like something that's on your calendar. Do you guys have it night on your calendar, or do you just show up?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? So you get reminded.
I get reminded I live like 30 minutes, I get reminded 2 hours. Just in case.
Right.
To start getting ready, right, and then. And then an hour before, start driving.
Right, and so your calendar sets expectations for you. You know exactly what to expect. Okay, take case in point. Usually I don't teach on Mondays because I'm usually at another event. So just so happened this morning, I was up like at 3:30 in the morning, couldn't go back to sleep. And I was booking something on my calendar and it wouldn't book. Get this, it wouldn't book. And the reason why it wouldn't book was because I had the class booked on my calendar. And then I realized, I said, oh. And then Stephanie reminded me this morning and I said, yeah, I just laughed. I said, yeah, because I reminded myself because of those expectations. Imagine, that's why it's important that you have a calendar because it keeps you on task. So now, when you look at their biggest asset, you are going to demonstrate your expertise and by educating your client on the realities. And so you'll be able to keep that and be in constant communication. Now, a key component to educating your clients is to review the entire process. You've likely already touched on it during the buyer and seller or buyer listing or consultation. However, this is the complicated and emotional process that people don't remember everything the first time that you tell them, especially when it isn't in proximity. This is true for almost everything in our lives. If I ask you what you're having for dinner a week from today, would you know? If you don't, are you worried that you don't have the answer? No. Okay? Of course not. That meal is not near your needs right now. Right now, you're much more interested in your next meal, picking up your dry cleaning, getting a present for your niece's birthday this weekend, or a million other things. It's the same with buying and selling process. So when you look at this, you partner with an agent, okay? You get pre-approved for the loan. Now, when you're partnering, now what's included with partnering with an agent?
That they can refer you to a lender to get
Information,
Say it again.
get information.
Get information. That means you're having your consultation. Okay? Meaning when you go to an open house, somebody says they want to work, do you want to get them in a Zoom or get them in the office so that you can ask the pertinent questions about what they're looking for? At the end of the presentation, then you ask the question, are you working with a lender? If you're not, can I refer you to one? Okay? Now, when you get pre-approved, setting clear search criteria is set when?
during the.
During the consultation. So half your work is done because now you've set your search, you've revisited it. Now you're looking for finding a home. Then you're going to make an offer. Then you're going to negotiate terms. Then you're going to bring under contract vendor coordination, negotiate inspections, appraisal, pre-close, and closing. These are the things that you're going to share with your client. Okay?
But this one, budget is very important, or the agent is very important. It's mean, the first time, you have to think about the budget. And then choose the agent,
No,
you know.
because usually the buyer's going to say, I want to buy. And then they have to get the rest, the professionals involved, meaning they've got to get connected with a lender. Sometimes when you meet with a buyer, they've already connected with a lender. Sometimes they haven't. They just said, I'm ready to buy. What do I need to do? So some people on their cards, they'll have on the back of their card what you need to purchase. You need 2 years bank statements, you need your W-2s, you need your everything as the list of 5 or 6 things that you need. So bring those in, and then we have the consult. Then we determine whether or not they're working with a lender or they're not. If they are working with a lender, we get the lender's information. If they're not working with a lender, then we share with them our preferred lenders that we want to share with them. Okay? Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So,
I think where he was going with this, like, I guess some people sometimes have like, I don't wanna pay more than X amount in mortgage, but they don't know what that.
right,
equates
that's
to.
the lender's
Yeah,
job.
mhm.
So that's the conversation that the client has with the lender and not with you. You follow me? Because where do you get your direction when they're ready here?
From your.
Where do you get your direction?
From
Where
the
do you-
pre-approval, right?
From the pre-approval, from the lender. Okay, that's where you get your expectation as far as how high you can set your search criteria for.
But when you said about budget, it's mean how much I can afford to get the property.
Right, but that's the
That
lender.
is before the lender. Before the agent, choose the agent.
No.
It's not,
Because hopefully you can refer them, like you can
Yeah.
take them to a lender.
Because the lender, remember, everybody says, I wanna buy, but I don't think I can. They'll say that. Well, they can't do that because they're not an expert to know between their costs on what it's going to take. So they have to go to a lender, and the lender is going to say, listen, based on your finances, let me give you an example. The lender will come and say, based on your finances, you can afford to pay $3,500 a month, which turns out to be this amount of a mortgage, okay? Now, you tell the lender, well, I don't wanna pay $3,500, I wanna only pay 28. The lender's gonna say, okay, this is how much house you can afford. See, it's the lender's job to specify how much house they can afford based on their finances.
and then when you say pre-approval, it's me, the lender saw all my financial conditions.
Exactly.
If they gave me pre-qualified, it means I want to talk to them.
Pre-qualified, you only talk to them. You say, you know, this is, that you give them brief and they'll say, okay, we'll pre-qualify you for this. But you always have to go to pre-qualified, pre-approval, fully underwritten.
And then
Those are the steps.
Yeah, we had
Okay.
somebody last, I can't remember his name, one of the instructors. He was telling us about his case where his client got approved for, let's say 1.5, I can't remember what it was, 1.5. But he only wanted to go up to 1.1, but the lender still gave the letter from 1.5
Right,
and told the agent, right, 1.1 is kind of where they want to go.
exactly.
But he was telling us it really helped him when negotiating for homes, having that extra.
Exactly, because
they
it's
need
the
to,
buyer's
yeah.
choice, depending on how bad they want the property.
Exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
So he was telling us this guy found like his dream home. Like that's the one I want. And there was a competition. And he was like, well, I know you said 1.1, but. And the guy's like, no, I want it. And went up to 1.2.
Exactly,
But that letter helped them, he was telling us in the negotiation, because they showed that. He had, $300,000 more pre-approval
Mhm.
if needed.
exactly.
So, yeah, that was cool.
So,
That's good to know.
for example, if you told a buyer they need to get out to see properties the same day they hit the market 2 months ago when they were focused on getting their down payment together, they likely won't remember the details. Okay? If you're now setting up their research, you should update them on how quickly the market is moving and in their desired neighborhood and price point. Make it clear why it's important to shift their schedules around to the point of inconvenience to see a house that fits their criteria. And at the same time, you're going to also need to remind them that if they see a house they like, they need to put an offer in right away. Okay? One of our mentees, Sherman, we were writing an offer for a client this weekend. He sent it to me for review. I sent it back and he said, well, he changed his mind. I said, why did he change his mind? He said, because other people were in his ear about the neighborhood that he was looking at. It's that. The same goes for sellers. Just because you covered how chaotic the first week on the market might be during the listing agreement 2 months ago, doesn't mean that they remember. Reiterate how important it is to be flexible for showings. For most people, it's very rare to have to make such a big decision in such a short period. Prepare your clients for this change at their day-to-day pace. This is especially important as you get to the time-sensitive portions of the contract. Now, often contracts require an answer within 24 hours, if not less, in hot markets. Therefore, you should make sure that your seller knows once the house hits the market so that they'll respond to your texts and calls. Remember, you're always staying in communication and setting and reiterating what you talked with them about in your expectations through the process. Yes.
So I know, like, for example, you had said with your sellers, you speak with them on Tuesdays, right?
Mhm.
But let's say you get an offer on Wednesday, would you talk to them
Exactly.
that
So
Wednesday?
that's just setting expectations if nothing happens.
Okay.
You know, it'll be a quick call or a quick
Here's
text.
what happened. in the
But if
other
something
time.
happens in between that time, there's always, something that you can do outside of that. But they know, a seller knows that they're gonna hear from you every Tuesday,
At least.
at
Yeah.
least,
Okay, gotcha.
okay? Now, you'll likely, when you set document expectations, you'll likely need to go over the contract before you ever see a house with your buyers and before showings begin with your sellers. By going over it now, when there isn't time pressure, they're gonna have some familiarity with it before they need to rush and put an offer in or quickly decide on acceptance. At each stage, you'll review with them where you are and where you're going. Now, in addition to the contract, what are some of the other documents that you'll need to go over with your clients in our market?
Are we like the listing agreement or?
Other than those?
I mean, counter offers are part of it and.
Yeah, sort of. I'll give it to you. Appraisal waiver, inspection waiver, property disclosure, lead-based paint disclosure, different things that are specific to the California market. You just want to go over those things with them, just in case you have the option to waive the appraisal, you have the option to waive the inspection. You just want to share that information. But at each stage, you're going to review with them where you are and where you are going. You want to future pace your client. Be sure they know everything that is going to happen before it does. For example, when talking to your buyers who have just submitted their offer, you're going to tell them how long it's going to take for the seller to get back with them. Okay? What the outcomes might be, they may accept it, they may reject it, they may counter. And what the basic steps would be if any one of those things happen. Okay? You're gonna talk with them on each day that the offer covers, okay? And then you're gonna set communication expectations, what I told you. Some agents feel like they can never turn off their phone, take a day off. That's not the way to live your life. Okay? If you will turn your phone off at a certain time each evening, make sure your clients know this. Okay? If they're aware that you won't get back to them between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., they will not be looking for a reply during those hours. Okay? You want to set your expectations. Let them know that you're going to check your messages first thing in the morning and attend to anything that they need. This goes both ways. Be sure to find out how your client prefers to be communicated with. That's important. Do they hate texting? Not everybody likes to text. Okay? Do they prefer phone calls? Okay? Should it be a group text with both spouses or does one work? Okay? Prefer not to be texted when they're sleeping. Do they have children who need homework assistance and dinner and they prefer not to be disturbed between certain hours? That's how you set communication expectations. Okay? And then contingencies. What will happen if a home comes on the market that is perfect for your buyers the weekend your sister is getting married out of state? You got to have a plan and communicate it well in advance. For example, if the wedding is on May 1st and you start working with these buyers on March 1st, You already know about the wedding, communicate it with them after signing the agreement and in the clear intervals leading up to that date. You want to make your life their life. You want to share with them what you're doing. Be sure they know you have a colleague who's going to cover the showings if needed. Okay, you always have to prepare for that. Now, as a listing agent, perhaps your sellers are going to be out of town and unable to respond to offers on a particular weekend. Get that information well ahead of time and put it onto the MLS so agents are going to know that they need to provide a longer response time on offers that are submitted during the weekend. Also, let your clients know when communication needs to be changed. For example, you'll adhere to the 5 to 8 p.m. rule, no calls unless necessary once they put their home on the market. When time is of the essence, we must act quickly, okay? Make it clear to your clients when that turnaround becomes a primary concern to the success of their purchase or sale. So take, for instance, I have a client, I have a listing in Inglewood, and the client does not want me just to put a lockbox on their property. I live by the property. So we made an agreement. I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lockbox on my property. And if agents want to see it, they have to call me, come by my address, pick up the keys, go drop it off, and then come back and drop off the keys. Okay, those are setting expectations so that your seller and your buyer can know what is happening. Okay, and then set up to date market expectations. Updating your client's view of the market is another way for you to show your expertise. They need to understand the realities of the market. Is it a seller's market or an extreme seller's market? Are houses sales slowing down to become more of a buyer's market? National trends in housing are often on the news. However, that doesn't mean your clients are paying attention or that the trend nationally is the same as your market. You have to set clear intervals in which you're going to communicate and re-educate your clients on the current market. A move from the median of 60 days on the market to 45 can have an extreme impact on how quickly your client will find or sell a home. Be sure to translate with your client what the market means to them. In an extreme sellings market where houses are going for an average of 10% over asking, should you be looking at the top price point? No, okay? In that market, explain that you're setting your buyers up for success by showing them houses below their price point that they can go over asking on. So you got to understand how you set those up-to-date market expectations. Now, you can set expectations seamlessly with your KW Tech in Command, okay? As usual, KW has the technology that you need that you can leverage to help show your expertise clearly and consistently and keep your clients up to date on where you are and where you're going in the process. Utilize the custom checklist, the smart plans that are available and opportunities in Command. Market updates can be a part of your custom checklists and smart plans. Share your KW app with your buyer and seller guides that are up to date so that they'll have them with them. For example, in parts of the country where national disasters have made home insurance significantly more expensive in recent years, sometimes you want to move to checking for insurance quotes. You want to do those things. You should include those things in the tech that you have available with KW. Now, 3 steps to gaining referrals. Number 1, you got to provide value. You might be thinking, we haven't put in an offer on a house. Why am I asking for reviews and referrals? Because you're already providing value. You're already sharing with your buyer what they did not know, okay? You're sharing with them the process, the buying process. Throughout this process, you're gonna say, I'm going to give you amazing service and earn your trust so that you want every member of your family to talk with me, okay? 68% of sellers who use an agent found their agent through a referral by a friend or family member. Okay? The listing that I got was a referral from a pastor friend of mine. The buyers that I got was a referral from my post of capping, was a referral for her children. You understand what I mean? So that's why it's important. You want to reward them, on their behavior. Don't wait for closing. As soon as the client or other member of your sphere of influence gave you, sometimes you want to reward them, say thank them on social media, give them a Starbucks coffee card, send them a small gift, just do something to say thank you. And then ask for help. You want to make sure that you ask for help. Ask for reviews through the transaction. Okay? Let me tell you something that's important. Your Google page is very important. Get as many reviews on that page as possible. Okay? Google reviews. Has anyone in here done work on their house recently? You've done work on your house, right? Yeah, You needed a plumber or a contractor, or you did it yourself?
Yeah.
You did it yourself? What you do is, okay, let me give you an example. So I'm working on Saturday and I get a text. I get a call from someone that says, do you speak Spanish? And I'm like, no, I don't, poquito. Okay, and so he said, poquito, and I said, yes. And so he goes on to start talking. He was a little bit over poquito that I said, oh God, I said, text me. Okay, and then I text him, I said, text me, because I knew he was talking about real estate. Okay, so he texts me and he said, I knew he said trabajo, I knew he was talking about casa, I knew he was talking about work on a house, but that was the gist of it. So he texted me, he said, I have someone who's looking for insurance. And if the insurance company needs work done, I was going to do the work. Do you do home inspections? Okay. And I said, no, I don't do home inspections. I'm a realtor. But guess what I did? I referred him my home inspector. You understand?
Mhm.
So that's why it's important. And then when I referred him, I said, make sure you let him know Fred referred you. Okay? So you want to make sure you put yourself in, just like the client that I'm talking about. The one that I sold house, she lives in Houston. Those are the things that you do. You ask for referrals, reviews. That's why we use the internet every day. Everybody uses the internet every day. You need to be sure that you have as much of a positive web presence as possible. Okay? I have one bad review on my Google page. I don't even know how it happened. She was just took her through the process, and all of a sudden I became the one who was only hungry for money, but I got her the highest price possible. So it was crazy. I didn't understand. So, but I let that go. Telling potential clients how successful you are at finding and selling homes can be effective. It's more effective when other people do the bragging for you. It lends statements more credible. So it's a great piece to use in your marketing and buyer and seller presentations when you get reviews. If your purchasing or selling experience exceeded your expectations, would you be so kind as to give me a brief review? I'd also like your permission to use this in my advertising and my marketing. Okay, you want to send that. You want to send that to your clients. And you got to make sure that you've done it before you send it to them, right? So you get seller reviews. When you get seller reviews, clients' homes sold quickly. They got their asking price at or above. They were impressed with the service. Ask what are some other seller statements that the seller can give you in regards to selling their home. You know, that's what you want to do. Not only do you have seller reviews, but you're also going to have buyer reviews. The buyer found the property perfect, the perfect home quickly. The agent negotiated a great price. The transaction went smoothly. They were impressed by service. What are some of those things? So when we talk about it, you know, reviews are very important. And the way you get good reviews is by communicating with your sellers and your buyers. What are some of your ahas that you had in this, what we just talked about?
I like the 12-step transaction process
Mhm.
for like the buyer. That was really good.
And especially when it's there in front of you.
Mhm.
You know, the
You can
guesswork,
start pieces.
right,
That's
the
just like-
guesswork is gone because it's there in front of you.
Mhm.
Now, I know we've talked a lot, you know, we've talked a lot, covered a lot, from dual agency to reviews to referrals, but most importantly, we've talked about the key ways to create a happy client relationship. Consistently and clearly communicate regarding the current market and the process of buying and selling. So now let's specifically talk about what buyers need from you. Okay? What buyers want most from their agent? They want them to help find the right home to purchase. That's 52%. They want to help buyer negotiate the terms of sale, 13%. They want to help with the price negotiations. That's 11%. And then they want to help, and then other, okay? So when we go over this chart, when we look at it, help with paperwork, 8%, determine what comparable homes we're selling, 6%, help determine how much home buyers can afford. Those are the other categories, okay? So now, how many have seen the buyer presentation consultation in Command? Okay, so let me tell you this. If you want all of the guesswork taken out, go to Command, go to Designs, and search for home buyer, not negotiation, but your home buyer consultation. Okay? Here's the good thing about this. The buyer's needs analysis, remember you said ask the questions? In that document, it has all the questions that you need. I have one of my mentees, we have our mentee meeting here on Thursdays at 5. She said, I have a buyer's appointment at 6. So great. She didn't know about this. So I said, go here it is. She did the buyer presentation perfectly because she was able to ask the questions. So basically you're gonna say, okay, Mr. Buyer, who's gonna be living in the home? How many adults, how many children's pets? That one question is loaded. Okay, because now you know who's there. What are the non-negotiables for your home? Okay, meaning what are the things that you don't want? If you had to name your top 5 non-negotiables, what would they be? Beyond your top 5 needs, what is something you really want? Do you have a preference for the year the house is made, built? Do you see all these questions? Do you understand what happens when you're doing this? When I said you can ask for reviews because you've already created value, you've already had them thinking about what it is that they were going to look in their house. Because before, guess what their thought process was? I want to buy a house. Now you really got them thinking on the bedrooms and baths, on what they want or what they don't want, what type of neighborhood they want, what type of neighborhood they don't. You understand? That's all there. The answers that we had, you have buyers' lives change, buyers' world change. The answers that we brainstormed fall into 2 basic categories. Buyers' lives change and buyers' world changes. In either case, a buyer's needs can change. Whether it changes in their lives or the world around them, you may need to revisit the needs analysis during the transaction. You want to know why you do the buyer consultation? Because what if they tell you all of their wants, all of their non-negotiables? Okay, all the things that they want. And you let them know that, of course, you're not gonna get everything that you want. So say you take them to a house and out of the 5 things that they say they wanted, only 1 was missing. And you've already told them you're not gonna get all 5. 1 was missing and they say, no, I don't want it. Now you have a conversation piece. Well, looking back on our consultation, these are the things that you said you wanted. What's different now that only 1 thing is missing? And then you say this, well, maybe we need to go back and revisit your wants and needs. Now you put it back in their lap. Because the only way that you're going to be specific in finding what they want, okay? The only way you can be specific in finding what they want is by what they tell you. Okay, you're not looking on your behalf. And yes, buyers are going to get frustrated, you know, in a tight market, and they're going to start looking outside their criteria area, and you got to draw them back in because maybe you have empty nesters that are looking to downsize who suddenly start looking closer to current square footage, you know, so you got to understand it. If so, it's time to find out why. It's time to find out why they're changing their mind. And a thorough and frequently revisited and needs analysis is done. You have to have tough conversations with your clients. Equals fiduciary conversations. Some conversations you have is don't buy things. Keep in contact with the lender to keep your pre-qual up, keep the data. Sometimes you have to have those children conversations. Don't quit your job. Don't get married. Don't pay your bills all at one time. Don't change debt to income ratio. Those are the fiduciary conversations that you have to have with your clients. You know, those are the things that you have to do. And then you have to show homes based on the needs analysis. Based on the needs analysis. That comes from the lender, and it comes from the questions that you ask in the question. And choosing the homes you're going to show clients is based on their needs analysis and expectation setting. Okay? Remember, you're the fiduciary. You're trying to draw that information from them. And only they can tell you what they're looking for. Okay, you follow me? So here's some of the showing homes best practices. Show only the best properties for your buyer. How do you know what the best properties for your buyer are?
Need analysis.
And the analysis. Okay. Have MLS listings with pricing information and key details included disclosures. Mark the properties on a map and answer local location questions. Be knowledgeable about the property and the neighborhoods. That means that if you have a property in LA at 90044, and then you have a property at 90250, and that you've got to know that neighborhood, learn that neighborhood, okay? Include the recent comparable sales to answer pricing questions. Point out potential issues or concerns with each house. And then showing homes means agent attraction. Once you're ready to show homes to buyers, always read the listing agent remarks and be sure you're scheduling according to the listing agent's instruction. Okay? calling the listing agent to schedule an appointment when the instructions clearly say they would like you to use a scheduling service is very frustrating for a listing agent when agents don't read what the MLS says. If the MLS says, please schedule all appointments by going to showing time, don't call the agent and ask them, could you show the property? Okay? If it says, go direct, just go direct, because that's the showing instructions. Okay? If it says drive by only, what they're saying is you make an offer subject to inspection. Okay? If it says text listing agent with any questions, that means the listing agent does not want you to call them. You follow me? You want to make sure you want to make,
Experience.
yes. You want to make sure, okay? Now, home tour toolkit. What we say, this is something when I started off in real estate, they said you should always have these things in your car. You should always have your go bag. This is what a realtor's go bag is. Sanitizing wipes, paperwork, map, first aid kit, flashlight, a level, tape measure, office supplies, paper goods. Trust me, that works. Graphite for sticky locks, hand wipes, hand sanitizer, masks, shoe covers, business cards, umbrellas, beverage and snacks, entertainment for kids. That's your go bag. Okay? Your go bag. Why does it say paper goods, tissues, toilet papers, and paper towels? Because sometimes you may go to a property and say, oh, I gotta get to the bathroom. And they gotta go, but there's no toilet paper, but the water's on. Guess what? Okay, this is service, right? This is service. So again, and safety first when showing homes. Please don't forget safety. Remember the tips from the open house. Always be aware of your surroundings and only meet clients that you've already vetted. Okay? Do not go to a vacant house with an unknown buyer by yourself. Okay? When I say unknown, that means that you have not vetted them. When I say unknown, that means they called you. Hello, Eddie, I want to see this house on 1 Main Street. Can you show it to me? Don't say, oh yes, I sure can. No. How do you vet a client?
Ask the at least basic questions. Okay, do you have an agent? Have you been pre-approved? Right, starting that conversation.
An unknown buyer, listen to this, an unknown buyer will always be a buyer that has not been pre-approved yet. Okay? Because now, if they've been pre-approved, the lender has their information. Okay? The lender knows who they are. The lender knows their address. You have a pre-approval. Because remember, you're not showing properties to anybody who's not approved yet anyway, right? Right? Okay? So that's an unknown buyer. You want to make sure safety comes first. Job equals sell homes. Job, show homes. Let's see what they're saying there. Remember, your job, your goal is to sell a home, not show homes. Okay, you listen to this. Your job is to sell a home, not show a home. So that means that when you're having the specific conversation with your buyers, you want to get so specific so that you don't have to show them 100 houses. You can show them up to 3 to 5 because it fits within their criteria and they can make an offer. Okay? If you show the buyer the first 2 homes on your list and they hate them, then you know they're gonna hate the third, okay? Cancel your last showing. Use that time to dig deeper into what their requirements are. Okay, because if you show 2 properties and they hate them, you know something's wrong. You know something's wrong, okay? Now, reasons buyers hesitate. Number 1 is they're afraid to commit. Your job is to help your buyer make the best decision for them. Buying a home is a big deal, and buyers can experience hesitation and reluctance. They don't like some minor detail of the home. They feel they haven't seen enough homes. They need to sleep on it and get an opinion of trusted advisors. You've got to help your buyer make decisions with the following. Always go back to their motivation. Remember, you're putting it back in their lap. Go back to their needs and wants. You're putting it back in their lap. Advise them as a consultant and a fiduciary. Allay their fears, calm them down, solve their challenges, calculate the cost of waiting. Who does that fall back on? It falls back on the buyers. Because those are their needs, they're not your needs. Okay? What are some of your ahas that you found in this lesson?
The command, the design template, to
Mhm.
check that out.
Okay.
And you know that existed, yeah.
So now we've covered aspects of working with the buyers, from agreement to offer. So now let's focus on what sellers need from us during this period. What do sellers want? 1, they want help to price the home competitively. They want help for a seller market to potential buyers. They want help to sell their home within a specific time frame. And they want to help seller to find ways to fix up a home to sell it more. So if you see, 27% is the other, but the next one is the 21%. What's going to get them to get more value in their property? Now, the other falls into help find a buyer for the home, help with the negotiating and dealing with buyers, and help with paperwork, inspections, and preparing for the settlement. So the seller's needs are these 3 things: price, time frame, and conveyance. We start in the same place with the sellers that we do with buyers, their needs analysis. For sellers, we want to know their price, time frame, and conveyances so that you can get great offers from able, ready, and willing buyers. Okay? So when you do this, when you work with sellers, just as with buyers, when things aren't going as you think they should, you need to revisit and perhaps even revise their needs analysis. Just as buyers, either the seller's life can change or the world around them, the sellers can change also. For example, the seller can lose their job, so carrying their mortgage on this house becomes difficult or impossible, thus changing their time frame. Okay? Perhaps the seller finds their dream home, puts in an offer, and needs to move as soon as possible. Their time frame changes. You got to understand, you got to stay in touch, over communicate, and know when you need to change your game plan by altering their needs analysis. Okay? Now, there are just 2 things that a seller can control: price and condition. Your job is to know the market and advise them on how to get the best price with the least work in the quickest time frame. Therefore, you need to know your market to know how they can best prep their house. Okay? Now, sensitive seller conversations. Getting the seller ready to sell for the highest price with the least amount of work is the best time frame. Can involve some sensitive conversations. Hardly anyone keeps their house show ready all the time, every day. And it's more challenge for some sellers than others, okay? So you have to have those sensitive conversations about odors, pet odors, about smoking or mothballs or cluttered conditions, deferred maintenance, personalized decor. Those things, you want the buyers to see themselves in the property. So the first thing I tell them, take all of your family pictures down, take all of that down. You know, you want to make sure and suggest what they need in order to move their sale going forward. Now, a great agent has great client communication. You provide a strong foundation for a sustaining relationship. You set and manage expectations proactively throughout the transaction, which creates a peace of mind for your clients and enhances your credibility. Okay? From the curb appeal to every room in the house to the backyard, it all matters. Okay? Come prepared, dress well, use your body language in order to move forward when people are visiting the property. Okay? If a client violates fair housing laws, you got to remind the client of their obligations under the Fair Housing Act. Discontinue representation if need be. Okay? Report the incident to your broker immediately and fully document the situation. Consult an attorney if necessary. Okay? And that's, you know, if they're saying something that is totally against fair housing, meaning I don't want to sell to this person, this buyer is of this nationality, or this buyer is doing, you cannot entertain those thoughts.
So your first step would be to remind them,
Yeah. Mhm.
we,
We can't talk about that. We can't discuss that. That's something that we really can't deal with if we want to be legal.
so let's say I'm a seller and I'm like, I don't want to sell to a minority, let's
Mhm.
just say that. And that's the offer you got,
Mhm.
and they're like, I don't want to do it. At that point, you would somehow remind them like, we can't.
Well, put it this way, if they say it,
Mhm.
because again, you're gonna say, the house is on the market for 500, they're offering 515. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, why aren't you accepting this offer? It's everything that you asked for.
Mm.
And they say because they're,
Yeah, whatever.
you understand? You can't. You know, but if they say, you know, if they don't say it,
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know,
you don't know.
you don't
Yeah.
know.
But if they straight out say it, you would tell them you can't.
Yes,
And if they
absolutely.
still say, I still don't want to do it,
That second one, discontinue
you would,
representation.
in that moment,
Yeah.
you would tell them I can't.
Yeah, I
represent.
can't legally, I want to keep my license. And in order for me to keep my license, I cannot entertain that type of deal.
Okay.
Mhm. It's gonna hurt,
No, yeah.
because
I
you're gonna
mean,
be
but-
looking at a commission, you know, but yeah. So no commission is worth your reputation. This is the one thing, if you ever need to know whether you're valid in a deal, these are what we call the WI-4C2Ts. Is it a win-win or no deal? Meaning it has to be a win-win or no deal. Integrity, do the right thing. Customers always come first, okay? Commitment in all things. Communication, seek first to understand. Creativity, ideas before results. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty, okay? Equity, opportunities for all, and success results through people. Okay? Keep those in your mind. Because this is your reputation. This is what KW stands on. This is what this is the foundation that KW stands on. And then you have the 14-step marketing plan for listings. Capitalize on your listings by marketing your brand at the same time to bring in more listings and buyers. What do they say? You should have another listing attached to the listing that you have. Okay, we've talked about relationship, we talked about communication with the seller, we've covered the seller's needs and saw what the sellers are looking for in an agent to market their home. So now we talk about marketing the listing. Highly productive agents market both their brand and their listings at the same time. You want people to know about the property, but you also want them to know about your business. That's why it says leads, listings, and leverage. That's my business. You know, if you see, look at my office, it says 3L Master. You know what 3L Master means? It means 3 Ls, leads, listings, and leverage. Okay? The message you put out to attract prospective buyers and sellers is everything. Why would they want to contact you in this market? What would they get if they did? These two questions are at the heart of all effective messaging. Okay? So your MLS listing reflects your brand, so get it right. Have the right documents for your market center uploaded. Utilize the right professionals to get great pictures and floor plans. Set the right schedule for your listing. Okay? Not only that, oops. Should have had the second one. Where's the second one? Okay, there it is. Import your listing data directly from KWLS. Okay, which is already included in KW Command. Okay. Proper signage. Remember, per NAR, within 1 business day of marketing a property to the public, the listing broker must submit the listing to the MLS for cooperation with other MLS participants. Public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers displayed in windows, yard signs, digital marketing on public-facing websites, brokerage websites, and all. Okay? Those are something that you have to do. Think. What are your ahas? Think that. What are your ahas?
That fair housing conversation. I mean, I hope you don't deal with.
It doesn't happen much, but with the atmosphere that's going around now, I think it's now more important, you know, so success with agents. Oh. At this point in the transaction, you'll likely be communicating with several different agents, either listing agents on properties your buyers are interested in, or buyer's agents representing buyers interested in your listing. Though these contacts may be brief, they are still important. Always remember that you're making the only first impression you're going to get on the agent who may have a great deal to do with your client successfully buying or selling a home. You may make yourself memorable by being great or terrible, and you will see these people again. They are your colleagues now. Be sure to treat everyone with respect and professionalism. Do you need to call another agent at 9 p.m.? Sometimes you do, most times you don't. Consider an email if your issue is there. Okay? And then as your buyer's agent, as your success, they're missing something. They're missing a slide. Okay. Missing a slide. So as the buyer's agent, did you read all the agent instructions before calling for an appointment? That's important. Okay. If not, be sure to do so. Never be afraid to ask questions. Do your due diligence to make sure the answer isn't already in the MLS listing. And as the listing agent, have you included all the information that both sells the house and answers the questions your colleagues need to be answered? Are there standard seller disclosures that need to be submitted with an offer? If so, include them. Does your seller require at least 24 hours to respond to all offers? Put it in the agent remarks. Okay? Does your seller need 8 hours before they can show the property? Put it in the remarks so that they will know. Okay? Now, as we wrap up, our learning session and transition to, remember, our daily success systems. Just a reminder and a quick review. We talked about the general best practices to serve all of our clients during the transaction period, and from agreement to offer, including avoiding how to communicate in a way as to reach the 3 levels of service. Okay? Then we covered how to best serve your buyers in the period, including how to utilize their needs analysis and show homes successfully. Afterwards, we covered how to best serve sellers in getting their homes sold and ready to sell, marketing them and meeting their needs. And finally, we touched on starting the relationship with co-agents, okay? You want to start it off right. How is your mindset now? How's your mindset now?
More organized.
Does it let you know that it's not as difficult as we may seem it to be? That we have the tools that we need in order to make those conversations happen. Okay? Now, remember, each day, Ignite is trying to help you grow in your thinking. Each class is built to help you grow. It's built to make you feel, act, and implement what you've learned. It's not such a good thing if you just take it and you just take it in your head and you don't act on it. Okay? You want to take time to reflect on what you've learned in important things that make it meaningful in your business. Now, how do you think your behaviors are going to change when looking at this?
Big things, that home buyer consultation.
Mhm.
Can we, I don't know if I haven't seen it, but is it specific that we created specific to a person?
You can.
Or is
You can
it, or is that a bit generic where we can have one ready in case of,
So the questions are generic.
okay,
You want to take the time because if Eddie says he wants to make an appointment, he's not going to make an appointment right now. You have time to customize the report for your benefit.
I was just thinking more like in the weekend when, if I can't come to the office to print it. And have one, I guess, more generic.
Even if you can't print one, you still can put it on your iPad.
Oh, so we don't give that to.
You can.
Oh,
You can do either or. But I don't want you to limit yourself. Because remember, you're creating a relationship, right?
Mhm.
What is going to hit you better? Me coming to you with something with your name on it? Or me coming to you
Of
with
course.
something that's generic?
Yeah.
So I know that if you're making an appointment with me, it's not going to be tomorrow. You understand?
Yeah.
And even if it is tomorrow, I still have the tools that's able to at least put your name on it.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
So what I would say is do a generic one. Print it out for your specific needs. And then when you're going to meet with a client, make sure you have their
They're
name on it.
specific.
Okay? Remember the daily success systems. Now listen, here's the key word in here. Success.
Mhm.
There's 2 key words.
Daily.
Well, there's 3 key words. Daily success systems. Okay? I have a with my 3L mastery program, I have a tagline. My tagline is this: success is not a secret, it's a system.
Mhm.
Let's build yours today. You understand what I mean?
Mhm.
Everything you do, everything we teach here at KW is a system. You operate in a system every day. You drive here every day, right?
Mhm.
That car works because of the mechanic system.
Mhm.
Gas gets to the engine because of a system. Your blinker works because of a system. Okay? Your tires work because of a system. Your body works because of your system. Okay? So success is not a secret, it's a system. If you want to be successful, you have to implement a system. Okay? I engage every conversation on the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in a relationship with me. That is a statement that you always should use when you're getting on the phone to talk with people. Okay? Of course, we don't do the role play, celebrate successes. Here we go. And then our next session is going to be preparing for making and receiving offers. Did you guys find something of value on
Oh,
today?
yeah. Mhm. Definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate
No,
you
thank you.
putting up with my conversation. Yes, sir.
When you say seller review or buyer review, is part of fiduciary duty?
Mhm.
And then one other question for, if you are a listing agent and you do the CMA for the seller, are you going to put a little gap to the price, a little high that can negotiate with the buyer? Or no?
Not really. You want to let the seller know what's going on in their particular property. So you want to be as specific as possible. What I usually do is I run a report on Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, and get the values there. Then I go to the MLS and then do my CMA, and it gives you a range, because remember, the range is going to be around the same amount. So now you let the seller know what the expectations are.
And the other thing, we agree with the AI suggestion, the ChatGPT.
What about it?
When you write down example in the morning, the broker talk to about the checklist,
Yeah,
checklist for seller, for buyer, for this.
well, you don't need AI for that. The checklist, you already have the checklist in command.
But my question is, everything is right or no?
What do you mean everything is right?
Everything that I check and the AI said, example for the checklisting. One of them is what it said, when the listing agent is going to do the CMA, 100% put the price a little high, little gap, so.
Remember,
there is
it's
a-
choice. It's choice.
It's choice.
There's no one right answer for that. You understand? It's choice on how you operate as an agent,
And depending on your client,
depending on what your client is looking for.
because the seller might wanna sell, they have to sell, let's say, quick, I need to sell this in a month. He might say, I need that price to go low to sell
Mhm.
fast. Or you might have a seller who says, I don't care how long it takes, as long as I get X amount. So it just
Yeah, I
depends.
saw that one too.
It just depends.
I
Yeah.
saw that one too.
Okay,
Yeah, always be careful, like ChatGPT helps a lot, but you gotta be careful because it picks up things right from the internet. That's how it gives you
Most of
answers.
the time using the ChatGPT.
You gotta be careful with it.
you have to drill down, you have to drill down ChatGPT. So you have to really, you can't just ask it one question and then go for it. You gotta look at it, you gotta test it, it's not a one-all be-all,
Mhm.
okay? You have to keep asking it questions, you gotta keep getting some different scenarios in there to
And be
get the right answer.
specific, yeah.
And you have to be very specific also. Okay? Well, you all, thank you, Austin, for joining in. I'm assuming that you are at work, but thank you guys for joining in with us on today. Meryl, thank you guys for joining in. I hope you guys got some value out of the class on today. Let's see. Thank you. You're quite welcome. And Ms. Velback, thank you. You guys take care. And I will talk with you all soon. You guys have a great day. Keep going. All right then. Bye-bye.